Welcome back to Venture Together, the podcast where we discuss various scriptures and topics in order to help you in your walk with Jesus Christ. Be sure to grab your Bible and let's dive in. Welcome back to Venture Together. My name is Josh, the host of the show, and yes, you heard me correct. It is now called Venture Together. No longer is it called the Pilgrim Project Podcast. Just decided to rebrand it a little bit. I thought that Venture Together might do a better job of conveying the idea of the vision that I have for the show and the things I'd like to do with it. Pilgrim Project is good, and it conveys the idea that we're all on a journey, and all on a journey towards Christlikeness, which is true. But Venture Together kind of broadens it a little bit, incorporates a little bit more how we're on our own journey, but we're not alone in the journey of life. We're all, as believers, we're all striving for the same thing. So why not help each other and encourage each other along the way? That's kind of the basic idea of it. If you would like to read into a little bit more why I changed the name, I actually have a post that I made up on our Buy Me a Coffee page. You'll find a link in the description below if you'd like to go and read that. It's really short, but it just has some thoughts that I've put together about why I decided to change it up. So feel free to check that out if you would like. And also, what I anticipate doing from this episode onward is having a video version of this podcast available. So if you are listening on Spotify or Apple or Amazon, you won't necessarily see the video. However, there is a video version of this episode up on our YouTube channel. You can go to youtube.com/ I think it's the @ Venture Together Podcast, or just search for the Venture Together Podcast and you'll find it, and you'll be able to find a video version of this episode. I don't know about you. I find that video podcasts like this are a little bit more engaging, a little bit nicer to sit down and watch and see something as opposed to just sit there and listen. But hey, if you're on the go, you're getting some work done, whatever, sometimes those podcasts are the way to go. So whichever format helps you and is most beneficial to you, there should be an option out there for you. Well, let's dig into just a quick challenge that I have for you today. Just some thoughts from a passage that I actually had a presentation that I made recently and included this verse in it, and just thought it would be something good to remind ourselves with. The passage is Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13. The verse says this: "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." Now, some context here. This is the second to last verse in the entire book of Ecclesiastes. So there's 12 chapters and 12 verses before this of content to be aware of and to read through that goes into this statement. But just to sum it up with this, the author of Ecclesiastes is King Solomon, and he's writing this towards the end of his life, and he's looking back on everything that he had done with his life, everything he had given himself to, all the pursuits and the passions that he had and invested himself in, and looked back on it. And actually, if you look at the second verse in chapter 1 and verse 2, he says this: "Vanities of vanities, saith the preacher, all is vanity." Well, what is vanity? It's emptiness, it's worthlessness. And so what is he saying? He's saying everything I've given myself to that's on this side of heaven, things of this world, whether that's money, whether that's possessions, whether that's joy and happiness, whatever it is, it's all worthless in the end. That's what he said. And pretty much the book of Ecclesiastes goes into the details of, I gave myself to this, I gave myself to that. And what did I find? I found that it's vanity and it's worthless. So the second verse in of the book, chapter 1, verse 2, he says, everything's vanity. And then you get to the second to last verse in the book, and he says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. He says, let's sum it up. What is it that we need to know? What's the advice that we need? And this is it. Fear God and keep his commandments. If you want to put it simply, here's what you can do. Every Christian, every believer, no matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter where you are in this world, no matter what culture you're in, no matter where you are in your spiritual journey, every Christian ought to do these two things. First of all, you ought to, as it says here, fear God. And then the second thing, you got to keep his commandments. What is it he's talking about? We need to fear God. We need to honor him. We need to respect him. That's not like saying hide under a rock because you're scared of who God is. That's saying give him honor and reverence and respect. Fear him. And we ought to, right? He's the creator of the world. He's almighty. He's all powerful. He's all righteous. He's a God of love as well as a God of wrath towards unrighteousness. Like there's so much about who God is, especially you just read all through Scripture of descriptions of who God is. It ought to stir some healthy fear in our hearts. It ought to stir us to respect him. And then the second, so no matter who you are, as a Christian, that is a given. We ought to fear God. The second thing is we ought to serve him. Fear God and keep his commandments. That's what we need to be doing. Keeping his commandments, obeying him, doing what he wants us to do. Now, for each individual, that looks a little bit different when you get to the specifics of what am I supposed to do in this situation? What, because we all work at different places. We all have different friends. We all have different family members and different situations and all that. So that's not to say that there's necessarily one specific answer to an umbrella type of things of situations, except for this here. But the point is specifically this isn't the answer, but it goes broader. This verse goes broader and it gives us the umbrella statement that we need to apply to everything. So no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, no matter who we're around, no matter who we're with, we all need to be obeying God. We need to be keeping his commandments. So if every Christian did this, if every Christian had a healthy fear of who God is and then kept his commandments, then the specifics will take care of themselves. But this is the heart, this is the foundation that we need to have. We need to be fearing him and then obeying him. Now, why is it that we should be doing that? It says here at the end of the verse, for this is the whole duty of man. So what does that mean? Well, whenever you dissect the meaning of these words, the definitions of these words, it kind of goes back to a little bit of a connection with the Garden of Eden, Genesis, I think it's chapter 2, and I'm not going to try to quote it because I'm going to mess it up if I do, but the general idea is this, that the whole duty of man, the aspect of that is that this is what mankind was created to do. This is what we were designed to do. Another way you can say it is this is the purpose that mankind exists for. This is what we were designed to be doing. Our purpose, our reason for being here on this earth is to accomplish these two things, to fear God and to keep his commandments, to honor him and obey him. That's what we're here for. You go back to the Genesis like I was talking about earlier, and what you see is God giving Adam commands to do things. He's telling Adam to keep the Garden of Eden and to maintain it. And just the way that the Lord gives him those instructions, it conveys that God is Adam's authority. And again, this is before the fall. This is in a perfect world. God created mankind to do work. God created mankind to serve him and to honor him and to respect him. And that's what you see with the relationship between God and Adam in the Garden of Eden very, very early on. God's giving Adam commands. Adam, it's his job to obey those commands. And so you see that precedent from the very beginning of our world's existence, all the way back in the Garden of Eden with Adam. And so that has since carried on. And this isn't the only place that we see this. You see this in 1 Samuel chapter 12 as well, a very similar statement that Samuel makes to the nation of Israel, almost identical word for word, identical in meaning, but the phrasing is very, very similar. It's what we're supposed to be doing as Christians. It's what we're supposed to be doing as believers, fearing God and keeping his commandments, because it's our whole duty. It's the fulfillment of mankind's purpose. This is what we were designed to do. And so I don't know who you are, I don't know where you're at in your walk spiritually, but if you're struggling a little bit and maybe have your hands up in the air saying, I'm just not exactly sure what I should be doing anymore as a Christian, maybe you're confused, maybe there's some things that's gone on in your life that's upended your world a little bit, come back to the basics, come back to this foundational truth, and just make sure that you have God first in your life. Make sure you're fearing him, you're honoring him, you're giving him reverence in your life, and then make sure you're doing what he wants you to do. Make sure you're obeying him, keeping his commandments, and reading his word, because that gives us all the details that we need of the things he wants us to do. He wants us to love like he loves. He wants us to be patient. He wants us to be kind. Go read the fruits of the Spirit. Those are all things that we ought to be doing. That would, if we practice the fruits of the Spirit, that is keeping his commandments. That is obeying him. If we model ourselves after him, that's exactly what he wants us to do. Now, how does that look individually? How does that look in different places around the world? It may be a little bit different here or there depending on who you are, but it all has to come back to these core foundational things to make sure that we're honoring God and we're keeping his commandments. So I hope that's been an encouragement to you today. I look forward to some future episodes coming up. One of the things that we want to incorporate more into the show is having guests on. And I actually have a guest lined up, a missionary to Brazil. I'm going to video call him in and record that conversation. We'll share it with you. Just talk about missions, missionary life, and it's going to be really, really good. So look forward to that. Be sure to like this episode if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you'd like to hear more, and we'll catch you at the next episode. Thank you for joining us on today's episode. Be sure to subscribe to Venture Together so you don't miss anything coming up. And if you haven't already, follow us on our social media channels to keep up to date with the show. Stay in the Word, and we'll catch you next time.